I can't believe that it's just been a little over a week since we finally got the Snyder Cut after 3 years of campaigning. And the conversation is already changing. I see far more tweets about the Ayer Cut now than I do the Snyder Cut. More tweets than I've ever seen about the Ayer Cut for the past 4 years. Because remember, Suicide Squad came out first. No one ever tweeted about that, but now it's all that I see. So we've been having a spirited debate about it over on Twitter for the past, I'd say, day or so. So I thought I'd make an official video about it so we could have this conversation. I want to see both. I want to see both. But I think there's things that maybe are not being thought of. So I thought I would bring them up. All right, so Suicide Squad, as I just said, actually did come out first in 2016. And it seems this Justice League seems like further away because we've been focusing on it for so long. It's been a genuine campaign. But it was Suicide Squad that hit theaters first in August 2016. Simpler times when the movie was just bad. Instead of there being this horrible conspiracy, well, it was true about Zack Snyder being pulled off his own film for Marvel's cast-off Joss Whedon because it was Jeff Johns' brilliant idea. But anyway, many of us have wondered. We did wonder, where was the missing footage that we'd seen in the trailers and the TV spots and promotional stills, particularly involving Jared Leto, which is interesting because Jared Leto is not at the heart of this Ayer Cut campaign. We're going to talk about all of this. And there's suddenly a campaign. Now, everybody is feeling very emboldened, which I understand, by Warner Brothers agreeing to release the Snyder Cut and giving Snyder tens of millions of dollars to complete his vision. And now some fans say that they would now, thank you, Warner Brothers, can I have another? Literally, I would like the complete set. And since Suicide Squad was originally supposed to lead into Justice League story-wise, the fans feel that not only should they get the Ayer Cut in addition to the Snyder Cut, but they should get the Ayer Cut first on HBO Max. Furthermore, these fans argue that since Ayer has a complete cut of the movie that was shown to test audiences before Warner Brothers had it recut, Snyder's cut was never shown to audiences, and he never got to complete it, visual effects-wise, and there I think still like a few missing things. He is able to assemble a cut, which he's been showing, we discussed that, but it's not Ayer's cut is pretty much ready to go. So because it's pretty much ready to go, it can be put on HBO Max faster and for far less money, which means Ayer Cut first, then Snyder Cut is a no-brainer for some people from both a creative and business perspective. Even James Gunn, who's directing the follow-up, The Suicide Squad, has said that he's totally cool with the Ayer Cut coming out. I'm curious if he's cool with it coming out before his movie or if he feels it would be after. But anyway, as I've tweeted, I've heard that there are no Ayer Cut discussions taking place. It's obviously something that Warner Brothers and AT&T are aware of. You'd have to be living under a rock at this point not to be aware of it. And I think that it's something they would consider, but there have been no discussions or negotiations. That's just, it's simply not happening. But with the shockingly low first-day downloads for HBO Max, lower than Quibi. Now, of course, that doesn't, by the way, side note, to be fair, it doesn't include anybody who automatically rolled over to HBO Max with their HBO Now account. But still, for new customers, people who are interested, and considering how few people, there are 140, we discussed recently, 140 million subscribers for HBO worldwide, but only 8 million HBO Now subscribers who are now automatically HBO Max. So that's a very low number. AT&T, also, to be fair, has said it is wrong, but they didn't offer a counter number, which is, why wouldn't you should at least say 8.09, right? I'd rather have a slightly fudged number because those are not new downloads than such a low number. But because that number is so low, I can see a future, maybe even a near future, where AT&T says, let's fast track the Ayer Cut because it's ready now. Especially since Ayer himself has been aggressively encouraging fans like he never has before. He even posted fan art that looks like an official announcement without saying, this is incredible fan art. And the reason I know this is because he had to respond to someone that he just posted it because he thought, I think it was a little underhanded of David Ayer, quite frankly. I mean, Zack Snyder never, did fake outs like that. I think, I don't blame David Ayer, by the way. I mean, hey, everybody get yours, right? But I don't like the potential repercussions for Zack Snyder, which we're going to talk about. Now, remember, we're only getting the Snyder Cut because AT&T was worried about people signing up for HBO Max. So when you think about it, the Snyder Cut has already failed its first test, in that no one's signing up for HBO Max. Now, also, to be fair, you're not getting the Snyder Cut till 2021, which is why I'm sure many of you are going to be typing furiously down below that I support the Snyder Cut, but I ain't signing up for HBO Max when the Snyder Cut's like not coming anytime soon. That's true. So again, that's why the Ayer Cut could suddenly become much more valuable to HBO Max. They were pretty desperate, which is what drove them to the Snyder Cut. So if they get even more desperate, it could drive them to the Ayer Cut. Now, I understand this whole line of thought from the fans' perspective, from AT&T's perspective, Warner Brothers and AT&T. It's funny that we're not focusing on AT&T. You know, who's making the decisions here? I think both Warner Brothers and AT&T are making them together. But AT&T, I think, has the final say. And I would like to, as I said, I would love to see the Ayer Cut, but I have some counterpoints and some questions about this situation. I feel they should be elaborated on. So let's get this clarified. Now, from the creative side, here's a really important question. All right, so how many times did Warner Brothers mess with David Ayer's Suicide Squad? Once, or was it twice? Why is this an important question? Well, let me explain. Now, Ayer has said that in his original version, June Moon was actually suffering from double possession. What an unlucky lady. She was not only possessed by the Enchantress, but it turns out she was also possessed by at least one mother box. So the machine that she's building at the end of the movie was supposed to be a countdown clock to Darkseid's invasion, which then, of course, would have tied into Justice League, which was coming out the following year. Steppenwolf, who ended up being the big bad in Whedon's Justice League, was supposed to be the big bad here, paving the way for Darkseid to be the big bad in Snyder's Justice League. It's very neat. It's world building, like we see over in the MCU. And of course, they'd already teased Darkseid in Batman v Superman, so there's a through line that Warner Brothers, the studio, cut out. Again, former leadership. They have new leadership these days. So, but here's the thing. Did Ayer actually film all the Darkseid Apocalypse teases, or were they just in his first script? Because from what we've heard about the difference between Ayer's version that was shown to test audiences and the one that we got in theaters, the difference is extra Joker footage, some big subway fight that I want to see. Extra backstory at the beginning of the movie for the main characters that's more fleshed out. We haven't heard a peep about anybody from the test screening saying, oh yeah, we saw a mother box, we saw Steppenwolf, we saw all this stuff about Darkseid and Apocalypse, right? So the reality might be that while Ayer's original script led into Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Ayer Cut is just a more fleshed out version of the movie we've already seen, and it's more of a standalone story. I'd really like him to clarify on that, but you know what? I bet he doesn't, because it would ruin the argument for his being released first. And I think he wants that. I think Ayer wants that. So that's the creative side. Now let's look at the business side. This is even trickier. First, let's say that the Ayer Cut does come out before the Snyder Cut. What if, just to play devil's advocate, it's still not that great? What if it still has problems? Or even just doesn't win over any of the haters? What if people who loved Suicide Squad already go, oh, that was great. But what if everybody else says, I still don't care for Suicide Squad, or it's not that much better? What if it doesn't get a lot of people to sign up for HBO Max? What if release, I would assume, in the same weekly episodic format that was planned for Zack Snyder's Justice League, because again, the goal here is not really for these creative visions to be seen, but for you to have to remain signed up to HBO Max and to tune back in week to week. What if they don't generate a lot of conversation? That would completely undercut the Snyder Cut, which is where AT&T and Warner Brothers have a lot of money on the line. They would be like, oh my God, why do we invest all this money in this? Because people don't care. That would be very bad. And on that note, that would embolden the haters, who are already pretty freaking emboldened, to say that this was a bad idea from the start before the Snyder Cut even airs. They would use the Ayer Cut as proof that this was a bad idea. And then people, would people be as interested in the Snyder Cut, which wouldn't be new or fresh anymore? Because here's the thing. Some of you were like, well, the Snyder Cut was announced first, so that's enough of a win. But it's who actually airs their work first that matters. Who is the very first director to have their original vision released that was altered by the studio because the fans demanded it? Who gets all that media attention? Who is the focus of that weekly discussion the first time around? Newness is key, because after that, it just becomes the norm. It's not exciting and new. It's like, okay, here we go again. And that would be fine for David Ayer because Zack Snyder led the charge here. Snyder worked tirelessly for 3 long years. He held a freaking convention, SnyderCon. He engaged with the fans and encouraged them with carefully curated Easter eggs. What did David Ayer do? He said, F Marvel at his premiere, said he was proud of his movie, and he moved on. I mean, he would occasionally tweet people stuff, but it wasn't a movement like Zack Snyder did. I mean, Zack Snyder, his movement, the fans obviously deserve a lot of credit, but I really feel it was a two-pronged effort, and the Snyder Cut movement wouldn't have existed without either one. Without the fans, it wouldn't have existed, and without Zack Snyder, it wouldn't have existed. And maybe David Ayer realizes that, which is why he's so engaged right now. But it's easy to be engaged for what, a week now? Whereas, again, Zack Snyder did this for 3 years. But Ayer would be the one who reaped the benefits of that struggle. Now, to be fair, a lot of you don't care about that. What do you care about Zack Snyder's legacy, right? AT&T and Warner Brothers certainly don't care, right? Or they wouldn't have pulled him off his movie in the first place. Well, at that point, it was just Warner Brothers. And that's just life. That's life. The only person who deep down at the end of the day cares about Zack Snyder's legacy is Zack Snyder. So if he wants to protect that legacy, he's got to get on top of this. I feel at this point the situation is getting out of his control and slipping away from him. So I would strongly suggest to him and his team that he create a behind-the-scenes show like they're doing the Disney Gallery for The Mandalorian, which aired afterwards. Well, I do it to air before the Snyder Cut, to really bring fans into the process of creating this final vision. Obviously don't give anything away, but walk them through what Zack Snyder's thinking, what it entails, meet the team, anything they can think of to generate content that HBO Max can air now, before they call David Ayer. Because I'll tell you, David Ayer's going to pick up that phone, and then Zack Snyder will be left behind, which would be so tragic. It would be just so tragic. I would be very sad if that happened, but I'm beginning to see that it could. So what do you think? Did some of this stuff not occur to you? You're like, yeah, I don't care. I said, well, it's tough out there. Life's tough, everybody. Just realize that. Life is very difficult. All right, so share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And, of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.